like Adam Silver has found himself in some serious hot water over the management of the WNBA, and is they faking ratings?
He stepped out and started talking about the crazy nonsense of a civil war that's going on between Iron Man or Iron Woman, Kathy Engelbert, and Captain America, Nafisa Collier.
It looks like Adam Silver has found himself in a mess he can't easily get out of. This goes far beyond a simple interview that backfired. This is the story of how the most powerful man in basketball underestimated a quiet revolution.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says Caitlin Clark has set the world on fire. Silver didn't reveal much about their brief conversation, but his admiration for Clark's achievements couldn't have been clearer. Speaking on FanDuel Sports Network, he said Caitlin Clark set the world on fire, not just this community. And it's easy to see why, from dominating college basketball at Iowa, where her famous number 22 jersey was retired, to becoming the first overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft, Clark has been unstoppable.
Admitted to a civil war nobody in power wanted to acknowledge, and is now behind the scenes, desperately trying to make things right, with the one person holding his entire house of cards together. And the worst part?
Just own up and step down. I believe that's what should happen. Kathy need to just walk away. We're going off into the sunset. Well, the half-bright sunset, I should say, because it ain't gonna be a good goodbye. But I feel like at this point she gonna have to step down. Stephen A. Smith said it last week, and I'm saying it right now.
He might be too late. The spark that ignited everything was a seemingly routine conversation on NBC. Silver was there, in his standard commissioner mode, talking about historic growth and a rocket ship trajectory. It sounded like just another corporate report. But then, he made the classic mistake of someone who thinks they're in control. He decided to be honest. Amidst that wave of optimism, he uttered the phrase that detonated the time bomb the WNBA had been living on for years. He confessed that the league doesn't just face business challenges, but suffers from deep relationship issues with its own stars. In that moment, he wasn't a commissioner doing marketing. He was a boss admitting on live TV that his company is falling apart from the inside. And the reaction wasn't just swift, it was a tsunami of reality. Social media exploded, but not with surprise. It was a chorus of, "They finally said it out loud." The fans, who had been following the players' complaints for seasons, saw that statement as the official confirmation of everything they suspected. The problems went far beyond salaries or travel. It was about respect, communication, and a glaring feeling that the league doesn't listen to its own foundation. Silver, without meaning to, tore up the PR playbook and showed the open wound to the world. But why is this wound so deep? To understand, you have to look at the trenches, at the voices of the players themselves. While Silver was giving interviews, Candace Parker dropped a bombshell revelation on her podcast. She revealed that during crucial moments in her life, the birth of her child, her retirement, a major business deal, it was Adam Silver who congratulated her. And the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert? Total silence. This isn't a mere oversight, it's a symptom of a grave illness. It's living proof of a disconnect so vast that the leadership doesn't even bother to build basic relationships with its legends. The situation is so absurd that even Sabrina Ionescu, one of the faces of the league, publicly admitted to having a better, more open relationship with the NBA commissioner than with the administration of her own house. That's like an employee saying they have more access to the conglomerate's CEO than to their direct manager. This communication breakdown isn't an accident. It points to a flawed organizational culture, where the immediate leadership seems inaccessible, distant, and worse, indifferent. While this relationship crisis was simmering, the WNBA tried to drown out the problem with supposed roaring success. They proudly announced that finals ratings had doubled. It sounded like redemption, proof that Silver's rocket was on the right track. But then came the plot twist. Nielsen, the company that measures ratings, simply changed the rules of the game. In the new calculation, they started including screens in bars, airports, and hotels, audiences that weren't counted before. The historic growth was, to a large extent, an accounting trick. It was like celebrating a sales record after raising the price of the products. Attentive fans noticed immediately it was a smokescreen to hide the fact that without the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, the growth narrative would collapse. And speaking of Clark, that's where the story reaches a level of absolute irony. While the league was struggling to inflate its numbers and manage its internal crises, Caitlin Clark was living in a parallel reality of success. Her off-season earnings became the definitive proof of her power. The figures for her speaking engagements are an open secret in the industry, around $500,000 per event. A single speech from her could surpass the annual salary of many of her league colleagues. She is no longer just an athlete. She is a unicorn company, a global brand that transcends the sport. The WNBA, for her, has become just one of her many stages, and perhaps not even the most profitable one. This colossal disparity in power and income is the fuel that feeds the fire of the relationship issues. How do you keep a group together when one star shines so brightly that it overshadows all the others? Veterans who dedicated their lives to the league see Clark breaking viewership and sponsorship records, while they still fight for basic, dignified conditions. It's not jealousy of Clark's success. It's frustration with an administration that can't or won't capitalize on her moment to lift all boats. The Clark phenomenon exposed in a raw and definitive way the structural deficiencies that have always existed. Facing the imminent collapse of his narrative, Adam Silver resorted to the only move he had left, the behind-the-scenes apology tour. Reports from internal sources indicate that he personally sought to calm the waters with Clark's team. The message was one of regret for the misunderstandings and a reaffirmation of her tremendous value. But between the lines, the truth was much more naked and raw. It was an act of pure self-preservation. Silver knows with a clarity that must be terrifying that if Caitlin Clark decided to focus entirely on her brand and abandon the WNBA's chaos, his rocket ship would turn into a missile pointed at his own foot. The recent growth is fragile, and it's sustained on the shoulders of one single person. In the end, this entire crisis has forced the basketball world to face an inconvenient and transformative truth. The balance of power has shifted forever. The league is not in charge. The traditional structures of hierarchy have crumbled. In this new era, a single star with unprecedented cultural influence and economic power can dictate the terms. The WNBA, at its most critical crossroads, needs Caitlin Clark with the urgency of someone who needs air to breathe. What Adam Silver does next, if there's anything left to be done, will determine whether this league will seize the moment for genuine reform or be remembered as the house that failed to care for its greatest treasure. The question hanging in the air, heavier than ever, is this: is Caitlin Clark still willing to listen?